yesterday, in the last session, you have covered one topic that is on writing supply type of an item. And today, first session, we are going to discuss the selection type of test item. So when it comes to the different type of selection type of test items, they are interlinked with the three different things in teaching learning processes. And as per the new education policy 2020 also, the major focus is on assessment practices. So when I'm saying the major purpose is on assessment practices, NEP 2020 is saying that assessment need to be designed so that we are able to optimize the amount of learning that is happening in a classroom environment. So the purpose of assessment is not only just for grades or marks to the student. The purpose of assessment is to improve the quality of the work that is produced by that student. So when it comes to design different activities for the student to evaluate or assess their performance, the teacher design variety of tests. And one of the tests that can be designed by the teacher is in the form of written test. And even in an online environment, nowadays many faculty members are giving multiple choice questions or filling the blanks or short answer type questions to the students by the use of different platforms. So NEP 2020 is saying that assessment must be regular, it must be formative and competency based. So in the last session also yesterday we have discussed that when in writing learning outcome we have discussed that when it comes to design different kind of learning outcomes, we need to kept in our mind that what we expect from our student population. So what kind of expectation, what they will be able to learn after the completion of the unit or after the completion of the subject, and the competition of the student is with himself or herself only first. So assessment, when the teacher is designing number of assessment on regular basis in a classroom environment, it is for the student. So if today the student is able to score a C grade, and tomorrow the student will be able to score B grade. So gradually we are improving the performance by giving number of activities. So NEP 2020, when they are focusing on assessment, it means the regular assessment can happen when the teacher is selecting the different teaching strategy that demands for assessment. So when I'm using lecture method, also in a traditional lecture method also, many of us are using questioning as a technique. So with the help of regular questioning also, we are assessing the performance of the student. In a class, maybe one or two students are ready with the responses, but that gives us a hint that up to what level I am able to develop the understanding of my student. So when it comes to an assessment, it must promote learning and development of the student, and it focus on learning. Assessment is not only for the grade and the score, it is also focus on what kind of learning environment the teacher needs to create. And ultimately, from the lower order thinking skill, we need to develop the level of the student up to higher order thinking skill, that is analysis, critical thinking and conceptual clarity. In a class of 40 or say 60 students, there may be one or two students or maybe three or four students that are able to develop up to the level of creation or evaluation. But as a teacher, when I'm giving assessment, it must be competency based. If the student is already good in remembering, understanding and applying, as a teacher, my role is to cater the need of that particular student also by designing few of the activities which help us to develop higher order thinking skill among that candidate. So that is why there are number of test items we design for our test paper. NEP 2020 also emphasizes that in secondary board exams and entrance exams are eating away valuable time for true learning with excessive exam coaching and exam preparation. So somewhere when it is being said that higher order thinking skills need to be developed among students, rather than just focusing on remembering and lower level of understanding, we need to focus on the ability to think logically, analytically develop the students, specifically if they are from the technical field. These exams also force students to learn a very narrow band of the content or material in a single stream. In a technical education system also, when the students are referring to the old question papers and teachers are copy pasting the information that is given in those papers and then designing the new test paper, the student come to know from the feedback that this much of content I need to prepare for a subject and I am able to get good marks. So ultimately what we are doing is we are narrowing down the amount or the content the student need to go through for that particular subject. So in this case, whenever the teacher is designing different papers, it must be related to the holistic development of the student. In certain subject, question paper may be redesigned to have parts. One part of an objective type with MCQ and other part is of descriptive type. So the question paper must have variety of statements so that it is possible for us to check the overall performance of the student as per the different levels of taxonomy. सो अगर मेरे क्वेश्चन पेपर में 8 से 5 हैं, दैट क्वेश्चन पेपर इज ऑल्सो नॉट वेरी गुड. अगर मैं अपने क्वेश्चन पेपर में एक्सप्लेन, डिस्कस, राइट शॉर्ट नोट दे रही हूँ, एट दैट पॉइंट ऑल्सो द क्वेश्चन पेपर नीड टू बी रीफ्रेम्ड एंड रीडिजाइन सो दैट वी मस्ट फोकस ऑन द असेसमेंट फॉर लर्निंग rather than assessment for scores or rather than assessment for marks. That is why in this particular course we have introduced two different types of test item. Yesterday, Dr. Sunil Dutt sir covered the supply type of an item, and today I'm going to cover the topic on selection type of test item. So when it comes to the selection type of test items, it required student to select response from the given option. So when I'm saying selection, it is the student who is going to select that kind of a response. But at the same time, the question arises that if the options are given by the teacher, that you have to collect the correct answer from the given 4 option or say 3 option, how I'm going to check the higher order thinking skill among my students? It is totally dependent upon how the teacher is designing a question. MCQ can be up to the level of remembering and understanding, and by designing question in such a manner where the complexity can be enhanced or increased, the higher order thinking skill can also be developed. If the question bank is not prepared for that particular subject, or nowadays there are many questions related to different subject available online, the teacher can take reference of those question items and reframe those question items so that it is possible for the teacher to check the specific ability available in the student. It is not that on internet all the questions are framed accurately. The teacher need to reframe the statement by taking hints from those question banks available online for the students. Selection type of item contain 3 different classification, that is alternate choice item, multiple choice item and matching type of exercises. So when it comes to the alternate choice test item, we are going to discuss few of the rules related to these. So yesterday when I discussed the topic on writing learning outcome, and there is one slide that's specifically mentioning that how to write those learning outcome in a practical sense. So whenever we are writing a learning outcome, it is a descriptive statement but not a generalized statement. So when I'm saying it's a descriptive statement, means the objective to define that particular statement is very much clear to me, that I am going to check remembering with this particular statement. I am going to check the analysis ability of my student with that particular statement. Same applies to the design of different items. So every item need to have a single learning outcome to be assessed when it comes to alternate choice test item. So when I'm saying remembering the item statement, item means the question that you have designed, that is focusing on the remembering part only. So when the learning outcome is related to analysis, the question statement related to the analysis part only. We are not giving generalized kind of statement. Like in few of the question, it is being said, what is your opinion? So when I'm saying what is my opinion, it is a generalized statement. It is not a descriptive statement. My opinion, my knowledge pool may be different from the another individual who is performing that particular test. So that need to be avoided. So the very first rule that we need to consider when it comes to the design of different kind of a test item is design each item to measure an important learning outcome. Yesterday I was saying that there is one question paper that is given for internal MST in a university to the student. I want to read 2 statements for all of you. The very first statement that is given by the faculty: write a complete case study This is the actual statement that is given by the faculty for internal test to all the student. So my request to all the participants connected online, kindly listen to this particular statement and try to judge the validity of the statement that is given by the faculty. So the very first statement is, write a complete case study on creating nanomaterial which uh, which cater to biomedical sciences, propose solution which are currently non-existent. मतलब आप एक स्टूडेंट से पूछ रहे हो, propose solutions which are currently non-existent in medical technology, use drawings, diagrams, equation to specify the property which will make these uses possible. कितने मार्क्स का स्टेटमेंट है? 10 नंबर का. फर्स्ट उसने क्या बोला? राइट अ कंप्लीट केस स्टडी ऑन क्रिएटिंग नैनो मटेरियल. Means while sitting in an examination hall, the student need to think upon that how he or she is able to design or synthesize nanomaterial which is specifically used in biomedical sciences. Is it possible for that student? 3 घंटे में स्टूडेंट कोई सिंथेसिस मेथड डिजाइन कर लेगा?
No, ma'am.
No one will.
Yeah. And the solution which he was asking for, which are currently non-existent in medical field, जब वो एग्जिस्ट नहीं करते, हाउ स्टूडेंट इन बीटेक और एमटेक इज एबल टू आइडेंटिफाई दैट सोल्यूशन. The second statement in this paper is, how would you use nanotechnology to separate oil from water in an eventuality of spillage in seawater? Provide fundamental aspects, illustration and drawings to support whatever your answer is. So the teacher is saying whatever your answer is, that is accurate, and now you are here to support your answer that you are writing. So this is the kind of questions that we are designing for our student. So when it comes to a design, whether it's a supply type of an item or a selection type of an item, whenever the teacher is designing a question for the student, it is as per the level of the student. When I'm saying propose the case study, that kind of environment need to be created for either master level student or for doctorate level student, not for diploma and BTech level student. And whenever we are designing question, there are certain rules that we need to follow, because there is a specific time period allotted to the student to complete that test. हर टेस्ट के घंटे होते हैं ना, 1.5 घंटे का, 3 घंटे का, 2 घंटे का पेपर होगा. So within that stipulated time period, we need to specifically ask questions that cater to the needs of different learning outcome as per the demands of the subject. So the very first rule that we need to consider is, design each item to measure an important learning outcome and write statements which are either entirely true or entirely false. The statement, these statements taken from different examination papers only. I have not designed any of the statement in these slides. These are all the statements taken from the different papers set by the faculty members of various technical institutions. So the first statement, falling body accelerated 9.81 meter per second square. So the standard condition is missing. So when the standard condition is missing, I am not asking for the fact, I am asking for opinion. Water expand when heated, at what condition? So that need to be specifically mentioned by the teacher. Avoid using statement which will provide your student with clues to the correct answer. Road curves are generally provided with super elevation. Road curves are provided with super elevation to provide stability to the moving vehicle. That's the thing that I want to ask to my student. And rather than giving clue or guess to the student, we need to specifically ask about what fact finding we are designing that statement. Write concise, clear, correct statement. So whenever we are writing the long complex sentences, it tends to also measure the extraneous factor of reading comprehension. So, and therefore should be avoided in a test to measure achievement. So in a technical test, it is not that I am going to find out the grammatical errors. It is not that I am going to find out the number of spelling mistake. My major purpose is to know the basic understanding or fundamental that whether my students are clear about that subject matter or not. So when the test is designed for a specific subject, The subject knowledge need to be assessed by the teacher. We need to give correction in terms of writing, but at the same time, the major focus is on the assessment as per the learning outcomes of that particular subject. So the item given, frictional resistance acting when a body is about to move, is limiting friction which is less than sliding friction. So simply the teacher can write limiting friction is less than sliding friction, whether the statement is true or false. Avoid using statement containing negative or double negative word. So it is not only in case of alternate choice test item, in the vocabulary the teacher is using in a classroom environment. Even for your verbal explanation, the teacher need to use a positive kind of vocabulary always. So when we saying motivating student, engage the students in the process of learning, communication plays an important role in your reading or in your verbal explanation. The teacher also need to avoid negative as well as double negative word. So spring balance does not measure the mass of a body. We can simply convert the statement as spring balance measure the mass of a body. True or false? None of the step, double negative, in the experiment was unnecessary. Unnecessary and none of the step. We can write it as all the steps in the experiment were necessary. A member of parliament is not elected for 6-year terms. A member of parliament is elected for 6-year terms. Write item that present one idea at a time. Salt can be dissolved in water and can be recovered by evaporation of solvent. Salt is dissolved in water. Salt in solution can be recovered by evaporation of the solvent. So this is how the teacher is going to write different statements. Next rule is write items so that answer is not immediately obvious, and do not lift statement in verbatim from the books. So when I'm saying action and reaction are equal and opposite, many of the students with a guess only will say this is a true statement. So that kind of statement need to be avoided to give in examinations. So it can be application based also. When a 20 kg weight is placed on a table, the table exert a reaction of 40 kg on the weight. The student need to apply the learned phenomena in the paper. Avoid window dressing. So it is unnecessary reading comprehension that we are going to give to the student for 1 mark statement. So that need to be avoided. Since we live in an age where everything is measured, that is we buy vegetable by the rupee and we drive so many kilometers, we must also have a unit with which to measure angles. This unit is called a gram. So the teacher can simply ask, angles are measured in unit called grams, true or false. Few of the further rules to write these items are: arrange items in a random order so that there is no obvious pattern available. ये नहीं है कि अगर आपने 6 स्टेटमेंट दिए तो पहली 3 ट्रू हैं और लास्ट वाली 3 फॉल्स हैं. There must be a random pattern selected in terms of selection of the correct answer. If possible, number of true and false statements should be approximately equal. 5 number का दे रहे हो, give it as a 6 so that it is possible for you to develop a pattern. True and false statement should be approximately equal in length also. So when the teacher is writing the statement, now see, this statement is very long in terms of sentence. This is small. This is again 2 line, 1 line, 2 line, 2 line, 3 line. So when the teacher is writing the statement, the focus is also on the time available with the student. So write concise statement so that students spend minimum of the time for as per the weightage given to those statement. So there can also be variation. Rather than writing true and false, we can add it as yes or no, agree, disagree, or right and wrong. So I hope these rules are clear to all of you. It can also be used to assess the higher order ability. So when we said indicate whether the statement is true or false, if false, change the statement to make it correct. So it is not just true and false. If it is true or if it is false, change the statement to make it more correct. So student need to apply the learning in that particular case. So we can make these items complex also as per the choice of the faculty. The second type of item is multiple choice test items. So when we said multiple choice test item, these are nothing but the MCQs. So how many, my question to all of you is, how many of you are using multiple choice questions at institute level?
We are
And
using, ma'am, in sessionals as well as in final exam pattern.
okay, and ma'am, is there any problem that you are facing in terms of scoring and grading?
Especially, ma'am, in my subject, there is no issue because I am teaching mathematics. The
Okay,
statements regarding statements and direct questions are asked just formulas in word or MCQs.
thank you very much, ma'am. Yes, Dr. Shabnam, ma'am. When you are organizing a quiz online as well as offline, is there any change in the two environments in terms of student performance?
In online, they just copy the answers from their
Copy the answer.
classmates.
Yeah. Thank you very much, ma'am. Yes, Shabna ma'am, you can write in the chat box. When we are using multiple choice questions in an offline environment and we are giving it to the student in online environment, is there any major challenge or change that you all are facing?
मैम ऑनलाइन में तो गूगल का ट्रांसफर कर देते हैं।
Ma'am, can you please repeat it again?
मैम ऑनलाइन में तो अगर एमसीक्यू क्वेश्चन के आंसर उनको फाइंड आउट करने होते हैं तो वो नेट पे गूगल कर लेते हैं कि ये आंसर होगा उसका।
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. So there is a change that in terms of scores or grades when the students are in available with us in online environment, whether they are available with us in a classroom environment. So why the student is able to find out the answer by putting keywords on Google? This is because we are not able to design appropriate statements for them. So those statements are either copied by the teacher from the internet resources, or somewhere when we are designing the statement, those statements are already available on different platforms. So that is why in the initial discussion of this particular session, I request all the faculty members that question bank of different subjects already available on the platform. There are so many platforms, so many agencies who uploaded their question statement on the platform. If the teacher is taking those statement, the teacher need to reframe those statements. The teacher need to think twice before giving that statement to the student. So we can take a hint, but we will not copy paste as such the statements available online. We need to redesign those statements. So if we are facing these kind of challenges that students are able to find out the answers at departmental level, maybe the question bank need to be prepared by the faculty, and those question bank need to be used for assessment purposes. So that can also be done at departmental level. So when it comes to the selection of multiple choice test item, there are three different things that we need to consider. STEM means it can be a direct question, incomplete statement, and STEM in case of multiple choice item is always written on the top. So the multiple choice question always started with the question itself, not with the responses. Set of option, the teacher can restrict himself or herself up to 3. The scale can also be taken up to the level of 5. There are many of the papers in which the teacher do not have a fourth option, so they simply write it as all of the above, none of the above. So those become again the dummy responses. Or it can also increases the chances of hints or guess at the part of the student. So it is not compulsory that you always go by 4. If you are designing 10 multiple choice questions and there are 2 or 3 statements for which the fourth response is not available, shift that statement to short answer type, true or false type, fill in the blanks type, matching type, or change the options for all the multiple choice test item up to 3 levels. So that can also be done. Key is the correct answer among the different options. So for example, the value of pi is the stem, 1.27, 2.17, 3 is distractor, and 22.7 is the key. There is again a problem in this particular example. The problem is 22 by 7. So there can be chances that student are going to make a hint कि ये वाला option मुझे थोड़ा different लग रहा है. Chances are कि ये correct statement होगा. सो अगर मैं डेसिबल में दे रही हूँ तो इट नीड टू बी इन डेसिबल्स ओनली. So hints need to be avoided by the teacher when they are writing multiple choice items. So there are certain rules that we need to follow. The very first is stem of the item should be meaningful by itself. So the focus of the student is on reading that particular statement, developing his or her understanding, reading that particular statement and then finding out the correct answer. So a matte surface gives no reflection of light, has specular reflection of light, has diffused reflection of light, or gives semi-diffused reflection of light. Rather than giving this statement in multiple choice test item, it need to be given for true or false. So this is not a right option for multiple choice item. Second example for this is South America is a flat-arid country, imports coffee from US, has larger population than US, was settled mainly by the colonialists from Spain. So again in this particular case the stem is not at all meaningful. South America can be anything. So most of the South America was settled by colonialists from which country? That may be the right question to ask to the students. Usually use negatively stated item stem only when significant learning outcome is required. Alternative test items in what we were saying, negative or double negative statements need not to be there. But in case of multiple choice test items, we are saying use negative statement if only significant learning outcome require it. So the statement given by the physics teacher as which of the following is not a vector quantity, which of the following is a vector quantity. So we can certainly shift the stem in this particular case. Second is which of the following operation cannot be performed by a shaping machine. So this is again cannot be performed by a shaping machine. So it can also be converted into a positive kind of statement. None of the following is a vector quantity except that can be the right statement to ask to the student. Next is item stem should include as much as of the wording possible. So rather than having the longer choices for the student, item stem need to be more weighted. All these statements are taken from the Haryana Technical Board question papers only. So when we saying na item stem should include as much as of the wording possible, the statement given by the teacher is the main condition for the application of law of triangle of forces is that the force should be, that the force should be, that the force should be, D may be, that the force should be. So we can shift these four words in the stem itself. So stem must become meaningful in this particular case. In objective test, the word objective refer to the method. In all the four options, it is written as refer to the method, refer to the method, refer to the method. We can simply shift it in the stem itself. Each item should include as much as of the wording possible. Avoid unintended clues, keywords from the stem or their synonym are repeated in the correct answer. The type of enclosure on a motor installed in a mine have an explosive atmosphere. So when you are saying explosive, the direct hint is flame proof type. So we need not to give these kind of statement in multiple choice item. Change the nature of the statement. When used in conjunction with square, the left vertical edge of the triangle is used to draw vertical line. So this is an unintended clue added by the teacher in the test. The inward tilt of kingpin is called kingpin angle. The angle between vertical line and the center line of the kingpin is known as camber angle. So that can be the right statement to ask. Again, correct response is more consistent grammatically and semantically with the stem than is any of other responses. So an electrical transformer can be used for strong up electricity, can be used to change the voltage, can be used, it convert electrical energy into mechanical energy. So the student has a command on English, directly out reject this particular option, that is C. Then D, alternating current is changed into direct content. So grammatically and semantically, we need to check the item and the options given in the paper. A steel ball and a ball of cotton would fall at the same speed in a, आपका एटमोस्फेयर भी चला गया, any fluid भी चला गया. So there are only two options available for the student to select. So these also need to be avoided. So always proofread your paper, give it to another faculty, ask that faculty to read your question paper before giving it to the student, to remove all kind of language errors in that sheet. Usually long key stem of one item suggests answer to the other item. So this may be one is odd one out, that may be the right answer for this particular stem. So these are the few things that we need to consider. Odd man out, again the right answer, it may be intended clue for the student. So other thing that we need to consider while designing multiple choice item is avoid use of the word like always and entirely. So when we read scientific literature a lot, we come to know many of the writers, when they are using always and entirely, it indicates that the statement is false. In scientific writing, many of time when we say always entirely true or entirely false, so indicate many a times it indicate the statement is false. Sometimes and maybe it indicate the statement is true. So these terms need to be avoided. Arrange numerical option in ascending or descending order of magnitude. Items involving arithmetic operation, distractor should be obtained by following an erroneous procedure. When we are reviewing different research articles, many a time when the researcher is not aware of the results he or she is mentioning in that article, they are using terminology, it might be due to the, it is in accordance with the already published literature. In that, the statement, the results may be contradictory, but at the same time, these are in line with the XYZ section of this research that is proving that this particular result is accurate and valid. So this is the hint to the reviewer also, that when somebody is writing, it might be sometimes appropriately in line with, the researcher is not ready or not able to validate the results that is given. Same in terms of when we are assessing or when we are vetting the different question paper, and the statements like always, entirely, sometimes, maybe, क्वेश्चन नहीं बन रहा तो लिख दो राइट अ शॉर्ट नोट ऑन, कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा हायर ऑर्डर का, डिस्कस दिस, रिफ्लेक्ट अपॉन दिस, राइट अ क्रिटिक ऑन दिस. So this is a hint that somewhere the teacher is not able to find out appropriate statement as per the course objectives of that particular subject. The vetting committee may have guesses that for this particular question paper we need to reframe the items again, because teacher either do not able was not able to properly analyze the curriculum, or teacher is not able to design outcomes as per the course outcomes and the program outcome. So vetting committee may have hints as per the teacher is writing the statements in the paper. So when most of the teacher are using all of the above, none of the above, it means the teacher is not able to find out the fourth option for the statement. Many a time when we said all of the above, two correct responses are identified, the student is not going to read the third option, he's simply going to take all of the above is the correct. None of the above, again, none of the above does not indicate the student knows the correct answer. The student used an option only if each option is unequivocally right or wrong. So all of the above, none of the above, also giving unintended clues and hints to the student. So in this particular case, restrict yourself up to 3 options only rather than selecting 4 or 5. So that need to be avoided. Avoid use of all of above and none of the above because they become dummy options in both the cases. Instead, use multiple response items in situation where more than one attribute are correct. Which of the following material can be used for constructing false ceiling? So statement can be 1 and 2, 1 and 3, 2 and 4, 3 and 4. So in that manner also, if the options are not much available, the teacher can design combinations of the different option and ask it in a क्वेश्चन पेपर. यस सर. हाँ जी अलाउड है आजकल तो. इनको बेसिकली assertion types of questions कहते हैं. If the and in these question it is possible for us to evaluate more higher order ability of the student. So these can design up to the application level. Poor item, which of the correctness of the key should be beyond dispute. जो आपका क्वेश्चन स्टेटमेंट है that must be beyond dispute. Which of the following is most economical source of heat for the home use? Now, what we mean by economical? Are we talking about the cost or efficiency or accessibility? So that need to be mentioned by the teacher. So efficiency, economical efficiency in what sense? That need to be there. Place the choices at the end of the complete sentence. हमने स्टेप में ऊपर poor statement is options are given first, then the statement need to be written as the voltage can be stepped up by the means of what. So student पहले किस चीज पे फोकस करेगा, टीचर भी किस चीज पे फोकस करेगा, what learning outcome I'm going to measure, स्टूडेंट भी किस चीज पे फोकस करेगा, इस फैक्ट का या इस फाइंडिंग का what can be the probable answer. So stem always need to be on the top of the statement. What is the symptom of sunstroke? In case of sunstroke, the victim should have his head lowered, has a weak pulse, should be given stimulant, should have cold water poured over him, has a pale face. So in every sunstroke cases, the symptom may be different. So the teacher is asking for the major symptom of the sunstroke. So that need to be highlighted in the statement. Another factors that we need to consider while writing these items is how to make the distractor plausible. अब तक जो हम डिस्कस कर रहे थे that is related to the STEM and that is related to the option design. Now one is the correct answer. What about the three options that we are going to give to the student? That also need to be plausible enough so that student take time to think about that particular option. So when the teacher is assessing the performance of the student in a classroom environment and come to know for this XYZ topic, these are the common errors produced by the students again and again. SCI units को convert करना नहीं आता. Student के case में the student is able to memorize information, memorize formula, but not able to apply formula in many of the cases. So these are few of the common errors that I have identified during assessment. So that become the part of my distractor. Use distractor that are homogeneous and similar in contact to the correct answer. आपकी जो correct key है that need not to be very different from the distractive. The similar kind of homogeneity need to be in the distractors also. Use distractors that are grammatically consistent with the item stem. So sentence framing जब हम करेंगे, every distractor is going to fit with that particular stem. Use textbook language or other phraseology that has appearance of truth. Not truth entirely, but has appearance of truth. Use incorrect answer that are likely to result from student misunderstanding or carelessness. आपने बहुत बार सुना होगा बेसिकली जब स्टूडेंट अपने यूपीएससी के पेपर्स के लिए अपेयर होते हैं या स्टूडेंट अपने नेट के पेपर के लिए जेआरएफ के गेट के पेपर के लिए क्लियर होते हैं ना, बाहर आके जवाब पता है कि उनका रिस्पॉन्स होता है कि दिस टॉपिक वाज वेरी मच क्लियर टू मी बट मैं वहां पे कंफ्यूज हो गया. वो कंफ्यूज क्यों हो गया? क्योंकि टीचर ने आपको वहां कंफ्यूज किया है. Teacher want you to go through the basic of that particular question to find the answer. Student किस हिसाब से चलते हैं? Appearance of truth कि ये मुझे ठीक लग रहा था तो मैंने लगा दिया. Actual में जब मैं अब thought process में हूँ तो I come to know कि conditions were different. So that increases the complexity of those multiple choice items. Use make distractor similar to the correct answer in length, in vocabulary, in sentence structure and in complexity of the thought also. So अगर आप ये challenge face कर रहे हैं कि student आपका online environment में MCQ में अच्छा score कर रहा है और offline environment में उसके 30 में से 6 नंबर आ रहे हैं, somewhere when you are designing multiple choice questions, you need to spend more time for the statement design. So that need to be there. ऐसा क्वेश्चन होना चाहिए कि स्टूडेंट, यू अलाउ द स्टूडेंट टू हैव टेस्ट बुक ओपन कर लो, इंटरनेट वेबसाइट्स ओपन कर लो, बट आंसर्स आर नॉट इजीली अवेलेबल. So that kind of statements we need to design for the student. Present a single clearly formulated problem in the stem of the item. Rather than focusing on too much of the learning outcome, MCQs only of the 1 mark. So one learning outcome at a time. Make the responses independent and mutually exclusive. Approximately what percentage of population of Tamil Nadu lives in Madras city? Less than 40%, 20%, more than 40%, more than 60%. More than 40% is more than 60%. Less than 40% is less than 20%. So these items are not accurate, not mutually or independently exclusive. So that need to be avoided. When incomplete statement format is used, option should come at the end of the stem. So अगर fill in the blanks दे रहे हो तो filling the blanks must be at the end. So इसमें poor item क्या है? ऊपर item में क्या लिखा है बस? The coefficient of stability, equivalence, stability and equivalence, internal consistencies to study the homogeneity of the test item that need to be defined by the teacher. So the statistic used to study the homogeneity of the test item is called coefficient of internal consistency. So that need to be the right statement. So few of the further fact that we need to consider. Stem of the item should set a specific task. So the student need to think upon a specific formulation when they are in the process of writing the responses. Candidate should not be asked for his opinions. Opinions की बात होती है इन अ क्लासरूम इन्वायरमेंट, बट इट इज विद द हेल्प ऑफ डिफरेंट टीचिंग स्ट्रेटेजी. जब हम केस स्टडी मेथड ऑफ टीचिंग यूज करते हैं, there is role play method of teaching, brainstorming session designed for the student, discussions planned for the student. All these teaching strategies call for the opinions from student population side. जब हम टेक्निकल कंटेंट की बात करेंगे, साइंटिफिक कंटेंट की बात करेंगे, इट इज नॉट ओपिनियन बेस्ड, इट इज ऑलवेज बेस्ड ऑन सम फाइंडिंग्स, प्रिंसिपल्स एंड थियरीज. सो हमारी असेसमेंट में कोई भी ओपिनियन बेस्ड क्वेश्चन नहीं होगा. व्हाट इज योर ओपिनियन? दैट वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू आस्क टू आवर स्टूडेंट. Key to one item should not provided in the information given in the other item. कि अगर मेरे पास 50 MCQ है, मैंने सेकंड स्टेटमेंट ठीक करी है, तो मेरी 25th भी ठीक ही होगी, बिकॉज वो सेम टॉपिक से ली गई है. दैट टॉपिक इज क्लियर टू मी, तो मेरा सेकंड एंड 25th तो पक्का ठीक है. सो आपकी जितनी भी स्टेटमेंट है, दैट नीड टू बी सेपरेट इन टर्म्स ऑफ देयर मीनिंग. या आपकी थर्ड स्टेटमेंट अगर आपने रॉन्ग करेक्ट करा है, कंफ्यूज्ड है, तो आपकी 26th स्टेटमेंट भी आपकी गलती होगी. सो दैट नीड टू बी अवॉइडेड. एक में आपने पूछ लिया शेयर स्ट्रेस का फॉर्मूला बताओ, सेकंड में आपने प्रॉब्लम दे दी कि शेयर स्ट्रेस को कैलकुलेट करके बताओ. जिसे फॉर्मूला आता है वो कैलकुलेट भी कर लेगा, जिसे फॉर्मूला नहीं आता वो कैलकुलेट भी नहीं कर पाएगा. तो आप उसके 2 मार्क्स काट रहे हो इन अ गिवन पेपर फॉर अ सिंगल टॉपिक. तो वेटेज पे भी आपने फोकस करना है. When several different items are based on the same data, it should be necessary for the candidate to answer one item correctly in order to obtain correct answers to the other. ये हम किस में कर सकते हैं? अपने क्लासरूम इन्वायरमेंट. When for a given topic there are multiple items, but in final examination we are not able to do these kind of activities. Avoid 2 or more option which mean same thing although worded differently. That also need not to be there. Vary position of the correct answer randomly. तो जैसे हमने alternate choice items में random pattern को follow किया था, in MCQs also there must be a random pattern. So the third type of items that we are going to discuss in this particular session is interpretive items. Multiple choice items only, but these items help us to assess higher cognitive behavior. So when we said analysis, evaluation, creation, these can be checked with the help of interpretative exercises. In these type of exercises, content either in written form or we can provide a data set also in a tabular form provided to the student, and we ask the student to analyze the information and then give responses to the series of questions. So interpretive exercises में क्या होता है? Say for example, you are here giving to your students a design related problem. So you have specified the conditions for that particular design. You have given a hypothetical scenario to the student to design something, and you have given a data set also to the student to select different values as per their choice. So there is a case that is developed by the teacher, and based on that case only, the teacher is going to give few of the statements related to that particular case. So that become interpretive exercises. So we will give a case to the student. Based on that case, we will design 4 or 5 MCQs. The student need to understand that hypothetical case fully before giving responses to those multiple choice items. So it is not related to remembering or lower level of understanding. The student need to analyze that case from all the variables defined by the teacher. So in that particular case, the teacher can design higher order ability statement with the help of MCQ. So this can also be the option taken by the teacher. Next is matching type of test item. So matching type of test items are the very simple items to be designed by the teacher. So these items consist of 2 different columns. Item in the first column is to be paired with an item in the second column, that is response. So item in the first column is known as premises, and in the second column they are known as the responses. So there are certain rules that we need to consider. On the line at the left of each item in column 1, you need to label those facts. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, these are the facts that we need to consider. On the line at the left of each item in column 1, write the number of the matching item in the column 2. So proper labeling of different columns need to be there. So in column 1 and column 2, there must be labeling between these 2 items so that it is possible for the student to easily map between the different columns. Group only homogeneous premises and homogeneous responses in a मैचिंग टाइप ऑफ आइटम. अगर 8 स्टेटमेंट आपने इधर पूछी है तो 8 स्टेटमेंट में ही आपके रिस्पॉन्सेज होने चाहिए. डोंट put your student to put extra effort to complete the matching of the items. In these kind of item, check each exercise for extraneous clues, grammatical interrelationship in terms of numbers or in terms of person. Arrange the list of premises and responses for maximum clarity and convenience to the student. Keep the list of premises and responses relatively short. So हमारे matching type of exercises में sentences नहीं होंगे. There is minimum wording that we are going to give in matching type of exercise. Identify items in the first column by number and in the second column by the letter. Each explain clearly in the direction that on what basis the items need to be mapped. Place all items and option of matching exercises on a single page. Even when we are giving a print command to these type of statement, try to set that these matching type of tables need to be on the single page only so that it is easy for the student to find out. So this is all from my side.